You're walking right now, or you were an hour ago, or you will be in 20 minutes, and you think you chose the route. You think you chose to slow down at the corner, to glance at the window, to feel that small, unnameable mood that arrived as you crossed the plaza. The thought that surfaced, the one about your week, your job, your relationship. You think it came from inside you. It didn't. It didn't. What you're about to learn is that every city you've ever walked through is built in 3 layers. Not metaphorically, architecturally. There's a layer that controls your body, where your feet are allowed to go. A second layer controls your nervous system, what you're allowed to feel while you're standing there. And a third controls your cognition, what you're even capable of thinking inside that space. Baron Haussmann proved this in 1853 Paris. Kevin Lynch measured it in 1960 Boston. This is urban psychology, the science of how cities shape your mind. Each layer was designed by different people, in different centuries, for different reasons. They never met, they never coordinated, but they stack, and the result is the walk you took today, the mood you woke up in, and the half-thought you're having right now. Let's go through them, layer by layer. The first layer is your feet. And the first thing you need to accept is that your feet have been on a leash for about 170 years. The leash was invented in Paris. In 1853, Napoleon III hired a bureaucrat named Baron Haussmann and gave him a city full of medieval alleys. The alleys had a problem. They were too narrow. Crowds piled up in them. Barricades went up easily across them. 3 revolutions in living memory had been won inside those alleys, and the emperor wanted a 4th to be impossible. So Haussmann cut the boulevards. Not for beauty, not for traffic, for sightlines. A boulevard is wide enough that a cannon at one end can hit anything at the other. It's wide enough no improvised barricade can hold, and wide enough that a crowd, when it forms, becomes a target instead of a wall. The boulevards you see in every postcard of Paris are anti-revolution infrastructure. They were the first piece of urban hardware ever installed to control where your body could go and how fast. And it worked so well that every city after copied it. You can see Haussmann's logic in your own city right now. The widest streets are almost never the busiest. They're the most easily surveilled. The plaza at the front of a government building is never a place where people gather. It's a place where gathering is visible from above. The chamfered corner at every American intersection, the one you assume is just a curb, is a sight line. The architect chose that angle because it makes the corner legible to a camera, a cop, a developer thinking about retail frontage. Then comes Robert Moses. New York, mid-century. Moses is the man who decided your body would not be walking, it would be sitting. He pushed highways through neighborhoods that had been pedestrian for 200 years. The Cross Bronx Expressway didn't go around the South Bronx, it went through it, and the South Bronx never recovered. You can still walk past the scar. Robert Caro documented this destruction in The Power Broker. Jane Jacobs fought Robert Moses to save Greenwich Village from becoming another highway scar. She understood that cities work because of their complexity, not despite it. When Moses did let pedestrians exist, he made the sidewalks narrower. He widened the roads at their expense. The curb height you now step off of without thinking, that was him. He chose the radius of the curve at every intersection, which determines how fast a car can turn, and therefore whether you, the person on foot, feel like prey or not. You don't think about this. You just walk faster at that corner. And then there's the small stuff. The hostile bench you can't lie down on. The studs on the ledge that won't let you sit. The slope on the planter that makes skating impossible. The bus stop with no shade. None of these things are accidents. There's a whole branch of design called defensive architecture that exists specifically to remove behaviors from public space. Oscar Newman called it defensible space in 1972. The behaviors removed are not random. They're the behaviors of poor people, tired people, people who have nowhere else to go. You navigate this entire system every day without noticing it. Your body is constantly being told yes and no by edges and surfaces. The curb cut here, the bollard there, the gentle nudge of a planter pushing you onto the path the developer wanted you on. Even the desired paths, those worn lines through the grass where people refuse to follow the sidewalk, exist only as evidence of the fight. They're the proof the leash was tight enough that you had to break it to feel free. This is the body layer. It tells you where you can be. But here's the part nobody tells you. The body layer is the cheapest one. It's the part of the system that gives up first. People route around bad sidewalks. They jaywalk. They take shortcuts. So a second layer was built. And the second layer doesn't tell your body where to go. It tells your nervous system how to feel about being there. You've walked across a big concrete plaza before? You know the one. The kind designed in the 1960s or 70s by an architect who just read Le Corbusier and decided the future was a tower in a field of concrete. You've crossed it, and you noticed something happened to you while you were crossing it. You felt smaller. You hurried slightly. Something wouldn't let you stop. You wouldn't have eaten lunch there if you'd been paid to. And you couldn't have told a friend why. That feeling is engineering. A Danish architect named Jan Gehl spent 50 years measuring this. He stood in plazas and squares around the world with a clipboard and counted. He counted how long people stayed, where they stood, whether they sat or kept walking, made eye contact with strangers, smiled. Environmental psychologists have measured this too. And he built an entire science around the discovery that the human nervous system has a non-negotiable scale. That scale is roughly the size of an old European market square. You can recognize a face at about 25 meters. Read an expression at about 10. Have a conversation at about 3. A space designed inside those distances feels alive. A space designed outside them feels like nothing. The plazas built by mid-century modernists were not built inside those distances. They were built for the view from above, from the architect's drawing, from the helicopter, from the boardroom, from the human eye, at human height, the dead zones. They make your nervous system flinch, your cortisol rises. You walk faster. You don't know why. The emotion layer is built out of small things you don't track. It's built out of window density. A street where most of the ground floor is glass inactive, shops, cafes, people visible inside, registers in your body as safety. A street where the ground floor is blank wall, parking garages, loading docks, the backside of a mall, registers as threat. You don't process this consciously. You just decide one street is nicer and avoid the other, and you call that your taste. The emotion layer is built out of edge. William H. Whyte spent the 1970s filming public plazas in New York and discovered something obvious that nobody had bothered to confirm. People don't stand in the middle of open spaces. They cling to the edges. The edge of a fountain, the edge of a planter, the lip of a step. Your nervous system needs a back. A plaza without edges is a plaza where you can't rest. Every successful public space has been retrofitted to give you something to lean against. The emotion layer is built out of sound. The constant low rumble of traffic raises your blood pressure. Cars on the street produce a roar at a frequency your body interprets as danger, and after enough exposure, your body just leaves the danger response on. A walk down a quiet pedestrian alley and a walk down a busy avenue are two different chemical events inside you. You think you chose the avenue because it was faster. You chose it because you stopped noticing what it was doing to you. The emotion layer is built out of light and wind and temperature. A skyscraper creates a wind tunnel at its base, a fact wind engineers have known since the 1970s, and that gust at the corner is the reason you hurry past it. The shadow of the tower drops the temperature at street level by several degrees. The glass facade reflects sunlight into specific patches of sidewalk that get unwalkably hot. You experience all of this as weather. None of it is. And the cruelest piece, the part that makes the emotion layer hard to escape, is you don't have a vocabulary for it. You can't say, I felt anxious because the building's setback geometry violated the human scale my limbic system was calibrated for. You just say, I don't like that part of town. And then you don't go there. And then the developer who designed it gets exactly the result they were paid to produce. A space that filters out people like you. This is the emotion layer. It tells you how to feel, but even the emotion layer isn't the deepest one. Because emotions pass. You can be in a bad mood in a place and still have your own thoughts in it. You can resist. The third layer is the one you can't resist. Because the third layer is what you're able to think. In 1960, an urban planner at MIT named Kevin Lynch published a small book called The Image of the City. He had spent years asking people in Boston, Jersey City, and Los Angeles to draw their city from memory. He wanted to know what the city looked like in their heads. The answer changed everything. People didn't remember cities as maps. They remembered them as 5 things. Paths, the routes they moved along. Edges, the boundaries they couldn't cross. Districts, the named neighborhoods they could enter. Nodes, the points where they made decisions. And landmarks, the things they used to know where they were. That's it. 5 categories. The entire mental model of a city, for any human, is built out of those 5 elements. Which means the people who control which elements exist in your city control the mental model you have of your life inside it. If your city is built so you have no landmarks, you have no anchors for memory. Build it so you have no nodes, no decision points, no places where multiple routes meet, and you don't develop a sense of choice. Put the edges everywhere, highways, walls, gated developments, and you internalize a map of where you don't belong. The cognitive geography of your life is not your own. It's the inventory of what was built around you. This is the cognition layer. And once you see it, you start noticing the things that aren't there. The neighborhoods you've never been to. Not because you decided not to go, but because there's no path in your head that goes there. The cities you can't imagine, because no landmark in them ever entered your mental map. The choices you don't make, because no node in your daily walk ever forced you to. And on top of Lynch's geography, a second cognition layer has been installed in the last 50 years. A French writer named Debord named it in 1967. He called it the spectacle. Henri Lefebvre called it the right to the city. The idea that urban space shapes consciousness itself. Debord meant the city is no longer a place you live in. It's a place that sells you images of life. Every flat surface is a screen. Every screen is selling you a worldview. And each worldview displaces a thought you might have had on your own. You walk down a commercial street. The billboards aren't decoration. They're cognitive load. The signage isn't information. It's a pre-installed set of categories your brain has to navigate around just to be there. By the time you reach the end of the block, 1,000 small assertions have been made to you about what you should want, who you should be, and what kind of body, life, and future is desirable. You couldn't have ignored them all. Your nervous system isn't built to, and now the smart city layer is going on top. Every camera, every sensor, every Wi-Fi pinger, every license plate reader. You're being mapped while you are mapping. The street is reading you while you read it. The data goes somewhere. The somewhere uses it to refine the next plaza, the next storefront, the next nudge. You're the rat in the maze, and also the design feedback. So when you have a thought today about your work, your day, your future, your purpose, ask yourself where it came from. Trace it backward. Was it your thought, or was it shaped by the building you walked past? The screen you didn't look at directly? The slogan that entered through the side of your attention? The friend who told you a thing they got from a building they walked past? This is the cognition layer. It tells you what you can think, so here's where you are. The street told your feet where to go. The plaza told your nervous system how to feel. The signs and the silence between them told your mind what to imagine. 3 layers. 3 centuries of design decisions. Different people who never met. All of them stacked above the route you walked this afternoon. You didn't have a thought today. The street had it for you, but here's the move. You can see the layers now. You can feel the body layer pushing you, the emotion layer settling on you, the cognition layer telling you what to want. And the second you can see a layer, You can take one step off the route it laid down for you. Not a revolution, just a step. That's where every drive starts. That's where every map begins to belong to you again. So look at your next walk and ask yourself which layer just chose for you.